time because we have to let the live stream kick off here. But it is draft night, 2022 NBA draft, the day that I proclaim Benjamin Bornstein's birthday because it seems like he lives for the NBA draft just like all of us do. Project Spurs live draft coverage. The actual draft coverage starts at 7 o'clock. We're doing a pre-game, pre-show draft here right now. Joined along by Evan Townsend, the Rock, Rocky Garza, Benjamin Bornstein, Rudy Campos Jr., all of us working with Project Spurs, providing the absolute best coverage, the ultimate coverage tonight, picks 1 through 30. But since it's pre-show, we're going to kind of wave those other picks off a little bit, maybe get into a little bit of the prospects. We're concentrating on the namesake, Project Spurs. It's the Spurs. We're going to concentrate right now on the Spurs. They have picks number 9, 20, and 25 to go along with 38. I want to go around the horn, just flat out the question. We are literally an hour away from the draft. Number 9, who is your favorite guy at 9? We're going to go around the horn here. We're going to start with Evan first. Evan, you're Brian Wright. You've got Pop yelling in one ear. You've got RC yelling in the other ear. You've got Spurs fans chomping on you right, left and right. Who are you taking at 9?
Yeah, so this direction of this team is looking like we're going to be not only mediocre, but we're going to trade a lot of our assets. That's just my bold prediction. I think Dejounte's starting the rug pull slowly but surely, and we're going to have to go in full-on, not tank mode, but we're going to be bad. And not only were we in BPA beforehand, but we're in definite BPA mode now, and hopefully he falls to 9. I'm taking Jalen Duren, man, every time. I've been on him since the beginning. You're talking about a center that's the perfect modern-day center. He can switch out a little bit. He has flashes of showing a little bit of a mid-range game, flashes of showing, hey, he's not just a defensive monster spiking balls out of bounds. He basically is the quote-unquote best project pick because he's not all the way ready to be an NBA rotation center. I wouldn't call him a starter on every team or on most teams in the lottery right now. But the Spurs are going to ease him into the rotation. Maybe Yak's not there. Maybe he's a day one starter. We'll see. But I'm going with Jalen Duren, man, almost every time.
Yeah, Durant seems to be the consensus pick on a lot of mock drafts, especially today. We see Jalen Durant out there. I wonder if Ben's going to throw us for a loop here and come out with, the hard to pronounce names of the European guys because he's going to do that to me. But then again, I have a feeling Ben might go a different route and say, I'm going to stick with Durant. Ben, surprise everybody out there, please.
Oh, great. No pressure.
None whatsoever.
Hey Ben, we do have a comment. We have our first comment here, and it says, "C Nex is watching us on YouTube, and he says athletic centers is a must."
True.
He's not wrong.
No.
Jalen Duren is that. He does fit that bill. One reason why I like him at 9, but I think if I'm making the pick, and mostly just to be different from Evan, so we're not all agreeing on the same pick. My guy is Jeremy Sohan. I think he can play some small ball 5. He also makes the Spurs team much more athletic right off the bat, which is something they need. Again, Jalen Duren can do that too. He will add athleticism as well. But for the most part, Jeremy Sohan will provide that as well. He's going to give you a lot more on offense than you think. Yes, he has to work on his shooting, but Jalen Duren has his own issues as well. He's got to get a little faster. He also has shooting problems. So for me, it's Jeremy Sohan.
We know one guy that doesn't have shooting problems is Rocky Garza. At least not that I've heard. He doesn't have any shooting problems. Rock, I'm going to go to you on number 9 because I have to get back to Evan and Ben on some stuff here. I've got some stuff I want to ask them when it comes to the Spurs at 9.
I don't know, Rudy, but I heard Rocky shoots bricks, dude. So
bricks. We're supposed to play basketball next week with Rock, so we're gonna see how true that was. I played pretty bad yesterday, actually. So we're not gonna get into that at all. Rock, you've got Ben talking about Sohan, you've got Evan talking about Duren. You're seeing a lot on the social media because you're manning social media tonight on this big NBA night, NBA draft night. What are you seeing across social media? Because before I get into the latest rumors, because one Dejounte Murray has been rumored a lot in the past, less than 24 hours. What have you been seeing on social media? Who is that consensus pick that you're seeing at number 9 for the San Antonio Spurs?
All right, guys, we just went live.
The consensus guy really relatively been seen, and kind of the theme of what fans want is a big. So I've been seeing Jalen Duren a lot. Jalen Duren, like they said, would be a good pick. He'd fill that spot that we really need instead of having Keldon at the 4. It would be interesting if Jalen Duren and Jakob can work together. That would be something I personally can't figure that out. I'm not a coach, but being that I wouldn't mind if we don't go Jalen Duren and go big later. I personally like Johnny Davis. I think we need to go best player available of Davis there. I feel like he's one of the best scorers in the draft. You're getting a player that was the go-to option at Wisconsin. He did shoot a clip around 33% of 3. But he's just a bucket man, and that's what the Spurs need. They just need all the talent they can put on the team, and especially if you're losing Lonnie, that as much people predict. And you're going to maybe right up with Vassell, but is Vassell really too? And I'm not calling for Davis to start right away, but you need to get that depth as much as people believe that we're guard heavy.
Yeah, it is. And, the best player available concept, to me, it's a must. Every single draft, you got to go best player available. I understand you have needs, but that's the reason why you have free agency. There's a reason why trades are involved in the NBA. You can get you can fill those needs with veterans somewhere in there. Best player available, definitely for me. I think what happened was the GMs in the top, 8 picks were listening to me when I said Benedict Mathurin is going to be that guy this year. So I'm sorry I let the secret out of the bag, that he's going to be the man. He's actually going to be one of my favorite prospects coming into the season. But again, this is the Project Spurs NBA draft. It's sponsored by Project Spurs, and one other sponsor is DraftKings. Go get a DraftKings account. The NBA season is right around the corner. NFL season is right around the corner. Use that promo code TBPN. Get your account started. That's DraftKings, proud sponsors of tonight's NBA draft coverage, Project Spurs style. All right, so we got 9 done. We have Duren. We have Ben, like I said, throwing in that little bit of a wrench with Sohan. Rocky going with the consensus with Duren for the Spurs at 9. If you guys want to leave a comment on the live feed. Joe will be feeding us the comments on here, so we'll be able to get to a lot of your comments. Ask whatever you want. This is the pregame show for the NBA draft. Spurs are sitting pretty at 20 and 25. We're going to get into that here in a little bit, but we got to get to the news, man. The Dejounte Murray news. I mean, you have what? It was Jake Fisher coming out saying that Atlanta and the Spurs are talking. You're talking about a Dejounte for John Collins type deal. Since then, a lot of it has been squashed. Guys, what are y'all's thoughts on this whole thing that came out? I've always said, wherever there's smoke with the Spurs, there's never a fire. They don't really like to come out and promote these types of deals. So I think it was just kind of a phone call. Maybe it was a wrong number dialed, and that's how this happened. Yeah. But Ben, I want to get Ben's first take on this. When you saw this whole Dejounte for John Collins thing, how hard did you hit the floor?
Yeah, and that must have been it. The Hawks butt dialed the Spurs. That's what it was. They still had the numbers from Mike Budenholzer with the connections. It was a butt dial. That's all it was. But I was a little surprised. And then, of course, Dejounte Murray tweeted something with the popcorn emoji, I'm pretty sure. So that calmed me down a little bit, you could say. But there's always this kind of talk before the draft. And I hadn't seen, and that's, yes, Jake Fisher from Bleacher Report, reputable, but I hadn't seen anything from Shams. I hadn't seen anything from Wojnarowski. So I was not going to buy too heavily into it. There might have been some talks, but the Spurs are fielding offers, I'm sure. But it's like was mentioned by Fisher, it's going to take a Drew Holiday-like trade. It's going to take a lot of pieces, players, assets, picks to move Dejounte Murray, especially because he's on an incredibly friendly contract right now.
Mm-hmm. I agree. It's going to take a haul. And the Spurs did say something of that effect. It's going to take a haul to get Dejounte Murray. There was actually a trade that a proposal, and again, it's an armchair GM. It's a fan proposal. But I had to do a double take on it. I want to get into that here in a little bit, but I do want to go to Evan on this. Evan, same thing for you. You saw what we saw, Dejounte for John Collins. Hey, John Collins a year ago, everybody was on that bandwagon, but weren't expected to give up a Dejounte Murray. I kind of agree with Ben. It's kind of one of those you just take the phone call and say, hey, what's up? Oh, we want Dejounte Murray. Oh, you have the wrong number. Let me hang up. That's kind of the way I kind of saw that conversation went. When you saw it, what were your feelings on that when you saw that potential smoke screen of Dejounte for John Collins type move?
Yeah, so for months, and not just Spurs spaces, but other team spaces I joined, either talking about the draft or not, people always ask me, like, what is Dejounte Murray's availability? And I say it depends on the team. It depends on how the team's not only projected to fill out, but the roster and everyone surrounding him. Realistically, this dude is the 1B to a team that's missing a 1A, right? We don't have a superstar. Maybe we have one in Devin, Primo, and Kelton, maybe, but it's going to take some time to develop that. Dejounte is not going to wait for that. If we pay Dejounte and extend him in a few years, he's going to get paid close to over $40 million. Yeah. That's not only a lot of money, bro, but think about this. It's not just the Spurs way. It's not just what he brings to the table. He never, ever, ever debunked any of these rumors. If you want to be a part of this team, if you're the leader, you need to step up and at least wear a Spurs jersey when you're working out, or a shirt or something. But he's dribbling the basketball as soon as the finals over, holding it. I want to win a championship. I just want to win. And then he's talking about, John Collins. Whether if that's smoke screen or not, however people smoke over water, whatever you want to say. Mm-hmm. He literally is just entertaining and toying with the Spurs organization. Like, we brought this kid in. He was in a disgruntled situation. Multiple GMs passed on him. And for us to turn him into an all-star, and in the same offseason, just because we couldn't get Zach LaVine possibly, you're turning on us like this? It's gonna look really ugly unless we move on from this guy as soon as possible. Because he's gonna keep it up. He's gonna keep on the trolling. Instagram stories, Twitter. He literally is just toying with the Spurs and the Spurs community as a whole. That's not gonna end well. That's just my opinion.
Yeah, I mean, I can definitely see that. And I definitely see the frustration with your words there too. But the other thing too with that is, go back to LaVine. I mean, you don't sign LaVine. I've said it on a lot of shows. I've said it everywhere. Zach LaVine's not the first option on any team. He's never been the first option on anything, but he wants to get paid as the first option. Mm-hmm. So you don't throw max money at Zach LaVine, in my opinion. So if Zach LaVine wants max money, stay in Chicago. There's 28 other teams outside of the Spurs that you can go to possibly get max money. But you don't want to pay a guy like Zach LaVine max dollars because he's not that go-to guy. He's not going to make you a title contender. You're way far away from that. So definitely, I agree. There was actually a proposal. This is a proposal that I saw. And whoever wants to jump in after this, go ahead. The proposal that a armchair GM said, and I kind of was like, well, caught my eye, would be both Dejounte and Jakob going to Chicago, where the Spurs would get the 18th pick this year, and in return also would get Lonzo Ball and Vujacic.
That's not a bad deal. I mean,
hey, real quick, I wanted to jump in and just say thanks to everybody who's commenting here. We're getting a lot of Kai Soto fans. We got some fans watching us from the Philippines right now. C-Nex is watching us from YouTube, and I put his comment up a little while ago. He said LaVine isn't changing life for the Spurs. So I got a little thing for the people giving us love. If you like what we're doing, give us some love as well. You know, I'm going to go ahead and fill the hearts up on the screen, man. So hit that like button. Make sure you subscribe.
Thank you for everybody watching and commenting as well. Also, Kobe White was in that deal. I'm sorry. So it was Kobe White, Lonzo Ball, Vujacic, and the 18th pick for Murray and Jakob. Now, again, I didn't say I agreed with it, but that is a deal that does make you turn your head because it fills needs. It does fill some needs there. But I still don't think that's a quote-unquote Drew Holiday haul.
I'm not entirely sure what needs you're filling either.
Yeah.
You're creating more holes than what you're filling.
Okay.
Vucevic is past 30. He is a non-athletic big. Yes, he gives you more on offense, but he's at best a middle-of-the-road defender, at best.
Yeah, I agree, man.
And with Kobe White and Lonzo Ball, you're not getting back the defense. You may get some extra offense, but I'm not sure it's that much better. I don't know. That trade does not make a lot of sense to me. And for me, if the Spurs are trading Dejounte Murray, who, by the way, is only getting paid like $16 million this year, and whoever he gets traded to, they have to convince him to opt in or re-sign, whatever. I mean, the Spurs would be doing another team a favor. They should be asking for picks on picks on picks in return. They need to be getting assets in return. If you're going to go full tanker, if you're going to say this is a full-on rebuild, we're just going to take it, you have to be getting something in return. I don't know if you can go full OKC Thunder, just because I am pretty sure that that front office has voodoo on people, man. They are fleecing people left and right. I don't know how they're doing it, but you've got to get picks and you've got to get someone who is a go-to guy. I think that those are the things you have to get in return if you're talking about a trade at all.
Yeah. So, I mean, if they did add multiple picks in there, I mean, it could sweeten the deal, but something like that doesn't, when I say it fills voids, I mean, yeah, you can get that, but if you're looking at number 9 and taking Duren there, I mean, there's your potential big man there sitting at number 18 as well. You could package 18 along with a 20 to move a few spots up even more to grab another big if you really wanted to. I mean, there's more options there. Again, that is not a trade that's not even on the table. It's just something that was one of the 10 million trades that a lot of people on Spurs Twitter like to.
I have a question for Ben though. So let's say hypothetically the Spurs did pull that trade. Would you welcome them drafting Duren at 9 and then them packaging 18 and 20 to move up and get like Mark Williams? I know you're still going to lose defense from Vucevic and a little bit from Lonzo, but I mean, Lonzo is a borderline kind of an all-star caliber guard. I mean, he's going to give you more offense realistically, but I mean, you're going to have a backup point guard in Kobe White. I mean, you can still fill those needs, and it does stink losing Dejounte and Jakob, but I mean, you're going to get more offensive side, so you kind of just have to sacrifice one thing for another. But I feel like getting Duren and Mark Williams could, offset that just a little bit. Then, not still right away, but I mean, possibly in the future.
Oh yeah, if you're turning around and flipping the 18th pick and you take the 20th, 18 and 20, 18, 25, whatever, some sort of combination of those, and you get back into the late lottery, mid-teens, whatever it is, and you can go out and get Mark Williams. Yeah, I think you've actually done a nice job of shoring up your front court, because Vucevic will be your starter. He'll give you some extra offense that Pirtle can't. Yes, you're going to suffer on defense. Like you said, there's going to be trade-offs. And the question for me becomes, does Popovich in that front office, are they willing to kind of change the way they play offense and defense, really? Because you're now having to account for, well, Vucevic is not really a rim protector. He's barely a rim deterrent. How do we stop people from getting in there and dunking on him, getting around him, whatever, scoring on him? I think Mark Williams can be that guy. Jalen Duren can help with that. And now you go out and you can get a forward, or you go out and if you really think you need one, you go and get a guard at 25 and or 38, depending on how you packaged it in the flip. But I mean, I guess you could argue the offense would be a little better, and you probably have a lot more flexibility in your lineups. And it still feels like a lot of guards, even with Keldon Johnson probably trying to play 4 for a little bit. He'd probably have to transition to playing 3. But you have Trey Jones, Devin Vassell, and Keldon. Joe Wieskamp potentially. He's guard-ish because he's a shooter, but he's more of a forward. But I mean, I know Evan is going to have some strong opinions on this. He is not happy with Vucevic, I imagine.
So when you think of Vucevic, man, you're thinking of like a 5th or 6th tier center in the NBA, and he's old and he doesn't provide anything. He's a veteran leader for the young core, but like he just embraces the tank. Like he doesn't raise the floor at all. Lonzo Ball is injury prone. Lonzo Ball has glass knees. That has been reported since he got traded from the Lakers, and he's never been 100%, never really played a full season since. Has to take multiple games off in between back-to-backs, and they ended the back-to-backs this past season, but he was still missing multiple games in a row. Oh, but he definitely makes the game when he plays against his brother. And he definitely makes the game when he plays against top of the Eastern Conference teams. But anything else, the dude never played. So Kobe White, average backup, small ball, point guard, shooting guard, combo guard. Is that cool? I need Patrick Williams, man. I need a young asset. I need at least like I don't want to say a Laurie Marketing, but dude, like somebody on the lines of rookie year Laurie Mark in terms of hype, in terms of potential. You know what I'm saying? So realistically, I know we made a trade with the Bulls last year. Look for them to maybe be in the mix again, whether if it's a 3-team trade, 4-team trade. I've been saying that for months. The Spurs are going to be active. It's going to start hopefully now. I don't know what the wait is, but like, Woj, hello, Brian.
Where you at?
For real, the draft first in power, bro. We gotta make things happen. We have 4 picks and 3, possibly 4 disgruntled vets we need to move. When I say disgruntled, does it make sense to keep Keldon if you move on from Dejounte? We got to pay him. And does he want to be here long term without Dejounte? I don't think so. Not just a clutch thing, but think about the relationship on the team. Think about who's the number 1 on the team. It's not Keldon Johnson.
Mhm.
Oh.
Hey, we got some comments coming in here. Christopher Ed Bellin watching us on YouTube. His comment is, Josh Richardson is a veteran leader, isn't he?
Yeah. He's making he's making $13 million this year, and that's like the one true vet you can have on this team. But dude, he's not taken away from Devin and Primo and like that. He'll accept 15 minutes a game. But yo, like that $13 million on a bad team. Do we even need a leader? But bro, like Josh Richardson wanted to be a Spur because I don't want to say nobody else wanted him, but he needed to have us. Not say us resign him because Celtics re-signed him. But realistically, dude, there's no chance somebody of that level is going to be our number 1 leader. That doesn't. I'm gonna say it doesn't make sense, but you have to have somebody who's an MLE guy, more of a veteran, seen a lot, rather than somebody who's just like kind of squeezing. Oh, I need 15, 16 minutes. You know, that makes sense.
And we got another comment here, and he goes, the same guy, Christopher Ed Bellin, he says, we have Trey Jones. We don't need Kobe White.
I mean, Trey Jones is going to be a free agent next year, and, you're losing Lonnie, you're losing Jay Rich. I mean, I'm not opposed to them drafting a guard this year just to get that backup. I mean, do they really believe in Trey Jones, or are they going to bring him back for, an average contract? It just really depends. I mean, Trey Jones has shown his flashes, but are you really trusting him already to be the backup? It doesn't seem like it. The Spurs are eyeing guards.
What makes you not trust Trey Jones, though?
I mean, he's been too inconsistent. I mean, you've seen it. You saw in his games at the end of the season, he would have it, near doubles, and then sometimes he'd just be a ghost. I mean, I'm personally a fan of Trey Jones. I mean, he brings some energy off the bench, but the thing is, did the Spurs trust Trey Jones? He did show off in the summer league, and everyone was hyping up Trey Jones, but the jury is probably too early to offset for him. I mean, he's gonna get more minutes this year if they lose Lonnie, and realistically, but we'll have to see what he's gonna bring to the table.
Don't get mistaken. I'm not a Trey Jones fan because he went to Duke. So I mean, I'm not a fan of any Duke player. Ben knows that completely. So I'm not a Trey Jones. I mean, I'm a Trey Jones fan because he's a Spur, but outside of that, not much of that. I'm a fan.
But I think it's also worth noting with a lot of these guys, there are so few guys who are super successful year 1, even year 2. Mm-hmm. There has to be a certain level of patience with these players and their development. It's taken Keldon Johnson 2-3 years. It's taken Devin Vassell 2 years to get where he is. There are so few guys who are ready-made, can step onto an NBA court, be successful, contribute, and do a lot of different things right off the bat. That's why those guys are top 5 picks.
Yeah, and that's
Trey
why
Jones is not a top 5 pick for a reason.
Yeah, and that's what I said. I've told a lot of people when it comes to the NBA draft, this isn't your old NBA draft where you've got your 4-year, your seniors and your juniors coming out. They've got the experience. This is more like the MLB draft. You're drafting prospects. You're going to have to wait for them to develop. You're like in MLB, they're down in, the G League, they're down in AAA, AA ball. It's going to take them a little while to get acclimated to the game. You're right. There's not very many guys that are going to come right into the NBA and make that instant impact. I mean, definitely not.
And that's what's changed about scouting perceptions in the NBA since the high school and the one and done rule was enacted. Mm-hmm. a lot of guys who, if you were good enough, you'd be coming out of high school and people would feel comfortable and say, you can play right away. We're drafting you straight out of high school. And now they go to college for a year, they play the game, they look really great against college athletes who they don't get to scout them for years at a time. Like people were scouting Tim Duncan for 2-3 years while he was at Wake Forest, and he was still putting up numbers against dudes despite being scouted against and being doubled and all those things for 4 years, which is part of why, the Spurs and basically anyone who would have had the number 1 pick would have been so comfortable taking him, because they said he knows how to win. He has those intangibles. He has shown them on multiple occasions over the course of 4 years. In one season at college, you can play anywhere between 30 and 36-ish games. That's not necessarily enough to really understand and really know a player and how they react in certain situations. You could have a season where there's really never adversity for that player. You don't know how they play through adversity. If they're going through a shooting slump, they're going through a stretch of games where they're turnover prone. The season is so short and they're only playing the one season that sometimes you never really get to see that, which is why personally for me, if guys come back and they play that second, third year, you really have a much better idea of why they're a good player, what makes them a good player, what makes them tick. And you get an idea of those intangibles. So it's tough, but and because people are drafting younger now, or they're drafting younger players rather than those 4-year guys, they're seeing potential different. They're no longer seeing, oh, okay, this guy, when he gets to his athletic prime, which is, somewhere between 24 and 28, probably, people aren't waiting that long for players to get good. They say, oh, well, we drafted him at 19. He should be good by the time he's 22. Or we drafted him at 18 even. He should be good by the time he's 21. It doesn't always work like that. Players' bodies are still maturing physically, and they have to do a lot of maturing mentally and emotionally. So it's just become a much different way of scouting and a much different way of looking at players. One reason why I think the NBA should do something similar to the MLB, where if you want to come out of high school and get drafted, you're welcome to do that. If you don't get drafted, or if you don't get drafted, or if you get drafted later than you'd like, basically in the second round, you can go to college, but you have to go for 2 years.
2 years. Yeah.
Hey, we're getting some more comments, man. We got a lot of love for Kai Soto. I think there's a lot of fans watching us from the Philippines. And then we have another comment here too. And this one, I'm going to pitch it to you, Evan. Do you see the Spurs, is what this fan is saying, trading 20 and 25 or just one of the picks?
20 and 25 into the late lottery is easier said than done. Those are all teams that are above us in tiers, definitely. They're all in the Eastern Conference. They're all in the play-in race for the most part. And they are probably locked on one of the, I want to say, certified studs, but the Ochai Obajis, the Marjon Beauchamps, the EJ Liddells, they're there. They're rotation ready. Why would you want to get Ty Washington, Nikola Jovic, Jake LaRavia, two for one, but you can get a certified stud and save money. So maybe we trade 38 and just to get somebody off the team. Maybe we trade 20 and 25 and Doug to get a solidified vet. Who knows? But to trade up, easier said than done.
Yeah, it is easier said than done. You're going to probably have to include a player in there if you're going to trade 2025 to get back up into that middle part of the first round, like Evan is saying. Speaking of 2025, those two picks, we're going to get into those two right now. This is the pre-draft show sponsored by Project Spurs and DraftKings. Go set up your DraftKings account right now. Rocky did, and he put a whole penny in one draft and actually made like $1,000, I think, or something.
I did, dude. I bet on women's lacrosse.
Women's lacrosse. See, what he did though was he went and he used promo code TBPN, and he signed up with his account. He inserted a little bit of money, and now Rock is a millionaire, like overseas, where all that stuff is good. So go get your DraftKings account set up right before the NBA season, right before the NFL season. Great app to use. DraftKings, use the promo code TBP. And this is the Project Spurs pre-draft show. Our actual draft coverage starts at 7 o'clock with Evan Townsend, Ben the Boomstein. We're going to say Boomstein because he knows how to drop those bombs. And the one, the only Rocky Garza.
You got to say Ben's name with some huevos, man. You got to say the Boomstein.
Well, see, this is
Don't hate that.
This is the pregame, so I don't want to release it
Rudy's
right now.
working his way up there. He'll get there.
I gotta channel in my Ernie Johnson and Mike Remo.
Ben says you better put some respect on my name, Rudy.
Pretty much. I'll have a lot of respect for this name.
Hey man, my name got a lot of syllables. I get it.
No. I'm trying to keep it as short as possible with you, man. I want you to give y'all's analysts and have the mic as much as possible. So we're speaking of 2025. I want to get into some prospects for the early part of the draft for other teams because once the draft starts, we're covering the entire draft. But we're trying to get as much Spurs talk as we in here. If you have comments, drop comments. If you have questions, Spurs questions, anything like that, drop them in there. These guys are great. 2025, Evan. I mean, Spurs staying still. You're going to have a decent amount of guys in that position. Some of them may not be NBA ready. They're going to be more likely they're going to be project picks. But two guys that you see there that the Spurs could potentially be looking at, I have a feeling for me, one of them would be an overseas guy, but I want to see who you got talking at 20 and 25.
Yeah, so 20 and 25, that's the land of the wings that shouldn't be forwards and the forwards that shouldn't be wings or bigs. Yeah. There's a lot of rotation-ready guys, Ochai Agbaji, Marjon Beauchamp, that could fall to 20. It would be a surprise. I know we've seen a lot of Torrey Eason. He's pretty much like a fan favorite. He was actually being talked about at 9 a couple weeks ago. Now he's falling all the way to 20. Look at that. I don't think he'll be there. I think the Bulls right in front of us are going to take him if he falls that far. But I'm going to go with Marjon Beauchamp. Marjon Beauchamp at 20 is an athletic wing. Let me tell you, if you can imagine a taller Anthony Simons, a combo guard, a wing, an athletic, just torturing Forrest in the paint, torturing Forrest once he gets inside, transition, everything. The inconsistency from three, the inconsistency with just having a high basketball IQ. You know, when you were playing in a junior college in Yakima, Washington, and all of a sudden you're in the G League playing against NBA G League level guys, and you know it's going to be rough at first, and that's exactly what it was. He's playing with three guards at all times. He's a small ball four who can get up and is athletic, but 6'6", 6'7", great body, great mind. He's a little older than a lot of these guys, but in terms of what the Spurs could utilize, is there an athletic wing on this team? Evan Vassell, yeah, that's one. Anybody else? You got to get one. So that's all I have for now, and you can pass it to Ben. I know he had somebody at 25, and I got somebody at 25. You're gonna see some previews for it if we pick him. Right.
Yeah, we'll go to Ben right now. Okay, so we're gonna take 20, Ben. Who do you want at 20? Who do you see there?
20, I like EJ Liddell, 6'7", out of Ohio State, a guy who tested the waters last year. Teams basically said, get in better shape, shoot the three better. He did both of those things. Again, I will preach this all the live long day. Guys who go and test the draft waters, come back to college and improve on the things that teams want them to improve on should be rewarded with a draft pick or getting picked in the draft rather. And he is one of those guys. And I'm not saying he should go at 20 because, you know, he did what we said he should, but he did it. He did it well, and he deserves to go at 20. He's a guy he has some chase down blocks. He is a surprisingly quick guy off his feet. He is a good defender. He can step out, shoot threes, so he's going to be able to space the floor for you. He's more of a big body than Keldon Johnson. Not as athletic as Keldon Johnson, but he's a guy who could play some small ball four, maybe even five if you're desperate.
Oh, yeah.
I like him a lot at 20.
Rock, you got a guy you want to see at 20? Or you just want anybody at that position?
I want to go to Evan first. Your guys, Marjon. Who would you compare him to, like in the NBA, if you had to give a comparison to some Spurs fans who don't really know about him?
Yeah. So in terms of the Anthony Simons comparison I gave, he's a taller version of him. I want you to imagine maybe the defensive upside of a year 1, year 2 Matisse Thybulle, who is still a all NBA level type of defender. That's Marjon. Marjon excels on defense. He's, I don't want to say a lockdown, but the guy you need on your team. That what Lonnie was supposed to do when he first got here, to lock down the opposing wing's best player. And that's what he'll do, man. He's more than just an athletic wing. He's more than just a defender. He actually can be an all-around 3-level scorer. And the reason why he was in the G League, man, is to define everything and well-round his game. It's all but there except for a few things. He steps out of bounds, makes the boneheaded plays. When he's standing in the corner for three, he dribbles off with his foot. He gets to catch the ball, it doesn't hit him right in the chest, and he'll hesitate as it goes up, and it's an air ball. You know what I'm saying? Shit like that. Excuse my language. But literally, perfect. Awesome. You're going to say awesome.
Oh, boy.
Awesome. So, listen.
Can of worms.
If you can imagine Marjon, who even said, I'll be down to be in the Spurs system. I'll be down to wait my turn. I'll be down to be in the G League for another year if need be. That's not what Spurs fans want to hear. But, bro, if you give this man the amount of confidence he had back in Yakima, this dude was 25 points per game, triple-double, walking triple-double. And I guess the competition wasn't the best. But, yo, this kid has a killer mentality, quote-unquote, that dog in him, how people like to say. He's one of DeJounte's best friends. He may not want to be here if DeJounte leaves. Maybe he'll be a Rocket like with a lot of the other Seattle guys. But I'm going to tell you, man, Marjon is going to be a stud in this league. And at least the same tier as like a Tim Hardaway Jr., Robert Covington. He'll be a solid bench piece that could go off some games for sure.
True. So at 20, would this be a good time if this guy is still available? And this is what I'm asking you guys on. But if you see Blake Wesley there at 20, is that a potential pick for 20, or can you wait till 25 to maybe get a player like him?
Go ahead, Ben.
You could wait. I wouldn't pick him at all. I don't see the fit. That's what it is for me. I don't see, and at 20 and 25, you can draft for fit. So yeah. I just don't see the fit next to Dejounte Murray. He's 6'4", I think, measured out at 6'4" at the combine. He doesn't do anything better than Dejounte right now. He's a guy who'd have to sit on the bench. It's another 6'5" guard for the Spurs. Like, to me, it doesn't make sense unless that's signaling a trade. That would be the only thing I think is happening if you're getting Blake Wesley. I mean, not that Blake Wesley is the guy that kicked Dejounte Murray out of San Antonio. Nothing crazy like that, but it could be signaling that the Spurs are ready to move on from somebody. Maybe not Dejounte Murray, maybe Keldon Johnson or Devin Vassell, something like that. But otherwise, I wouldn't draft. I wouldn't draft him at 20 or 25, maybe 20.
And I'm giving you guys who I've gotten questions on from a lot of people on Twitter and who hit me up and stuff. And it's like they've given me players late at the end of the first round. I mean, another guy that's come up that you don't hear at all. And I know a little bit on him. I followed him a little bit when he was at Ohio State, or he's at Ohio State. Malachi Branham, is another one that a guy who's a pure shooter. He can shoot the ball. But again, at that 2025, is that where you could see him going? Is he some kind of a fit? Again, we're trying to get names out that, the Spurs are known for taking guys that you're like, what the hell? Like, what about who's this guy? Malachi Branham is one of those guys that doesn't get talked about at all unless you're balls deep into this draft stuff.
Yeah, so Malachi Branham, he's going to be another 3-level scorer. I don't want to say guaranteed, but at Ohio State, it was the Branham and EJ Liddell show. I'll tell you that. They were beating teams that they shouldn't even be competing with. They were actually let me put it this way. Malachi Branham reminds me a lot of Blake Wesley, but Malachi Branham doesn't make the same boneheaded mistakes as Blake Wesley. He doesn't shoot himself out of a game. Blake Wesley, I was gonna follow with Ben right before we switch. He's literally one of the most inconsistent mid-lottery guys out there. But his flashes and what he's done as a combo guard, leading Notre Dame by himself, that's why he's floating around the 15, maybe into the 25, 26 range, right?
Yeah,
we're talking about Malachi, and that's a fact. Yeah, it's a big range. We're talking about Malachi now. Malachi is a okay defender, not a great defender, not a fantastic defender, but he can hold his own. That's all you really need if you're a 3-level scorer on the other side, though. Hey, I'm talking mid-range. I'm talking separation move. I'm talking attacking the rim. A little smaller for a wing. You would want him to be maybe 6'6", 6'7". But I'll tell you one thing. Malachi Branham, I said this on a couple other podcasts. Malachi Branham with the right team like Cleveland, hey, yeah, be a wing. Buy Colin Sexton. We have defenders all around. We have Darius Garland. We have another backup point guard we can sign, right? He may just, mess around and be on the number 1 or the number 2 rookie team. First team, second team. He's somebody that doesn't need a lot of seasoning. He's somebody that can just come in and give you 12, 13 points per game. He's that confident. So, yeah, Malachi Branham, he's floating around just like Blake Wesley, who I honestly don't know who's going to go first. Probably Malachi, but look for Blake Wesley to go right after him, or maybe a team to swap to try and get in front of one another. That is definitely going to be an interesting topic. And literally, they're in the same tier, but that may be a complete separate conversation years from now.
Hey, we got a viewer that has a quick question here watching us from YouTube. He's saying he watches every single game from the UK. He says, do you guys not see us, or he's referring to the Spurs, taking any big stars from free agency without us having a lot of room in the cap space? Do you think we continue to push through draft and not free agency?
I'll let you guys take that.
That's I don't. The Spurs do have cap space, is the thing, and they can easily clear more if they decide they're going to waive Zach Collins. They can trade away a couple other guys or waive some guys and save some money. So they're one of the 4 or 5 teams that actually has a lot of cap space this offseason. So they could easily go chase somebody in free agency. I mean, there's been a ton of rumors or links, at least, from San Antonio to DeAndre Ayton. You get him in a sign and trade. You probably have to send a couple guys over to Phoenix, but you get Ayton in return, and then you can figure out the numbers from there, depending on what the Spurs have given back to them. But they can absolutely go chasing guys in free agency. That's not going to be a problem for them. If they swing this on the big name guys, you can expect probably a couple of smaller signings like a Josh Richardson, a Doug McDermott last year, which it's not sexy. It's not exciting at all. I get that, but that would likely be what they do to fill some gaps.
And you got to remember, when it comes to the amount of money the Spurs have available, they're going into the next season without, the qualifying out with, including the qualifying offers, they're sitting a little over 82 million. If the cap is set at around 122, 123 on the soft side, even if they kept those qualifying offers, you're still at 41 million in cap space that you can go and get multiple free agents, at that. But if you were to not do that, you're opening up another 8-9 million potential. So the Spurs could have 50 million in cap space in the summer. I mean, this is very scary good territory for the San Antonio Spurs. Evan, you want to get into some free agent talk?
Yeah. I mean, like guys like Colin Sexton, guys like even the Chris Bouchers of the world, the Isaiah Hardensteins, the Marvin Bagleys, Colin Sexton, hey, 20 point per game score, but you're injured. TJ Warren, hey, you lit up the bubble, but we haven't seen you play in 2 years. The Spurs are going to overpay for someone just like how they overpaid for Doug McDermott. And Doug McDermott's contract may be too big that he can't even get moved unless we leverage a lot of picks from it. Literally. I'm not saying he's not a bad player, but Doug McDermott didn't have a lot of outbreak games like he did in Indiana this year. He's getting older as the days go by. He has 2 years left in his contract, but hey, that's $13 million we're talking about, man. That is half of a max contract, more than half. And if you think about that, listen, Ben, that's like it.
13 million is not half of a max.
How much is max? 26, 27?
Oh no, Max
What is it?
way more than that.
What is it?
37?
30.
Than that,
With the new cap. My bad.
Yeah.
That's max player ask money. That's what I meant. And I should have been correct about that weeks ago. I'm seeing that for weeks now. My bad. Anyways, realistically, if you're thinking about Doug McDermott, he's not somebody you want on your team long term. And he's not a veteran changing anything. He's just the starting power forward. He's not even a power forward. He didn't have any fantastic games, and he was injury prone most of the season. Not most of the season, but when we needed him most. We had COVID lineups that were hit or miss. Everyone got hit with the COVID bug around December and January. But man, that road trip was so bad because it was so hard to get through. And not only did we get through, but we almost made the play-in. I should say it enough. We're a whole tier or 2 behind the rest of the Western Conference, especially next year. Can we fix that in free agency? Yeah, but we're gonna have to overpay the guys who I just mentioned, and it could work.
We have some more comments here from some of the people watching us, or some of the fans watching us on YouTube. Just Wing It, watching us right now, says some of the cap space will be needed to sign some of our young guys. And then Adam Thomas, Adam Thomas says, if we strike out on big names, I'm up for taking on a bad contract or 2. to get some future picks.
That's possible. I mean, we could be with Lakers, who are 128 million in 3 players. I mean, that's ridiculous as it is. I mean, we're not that bad, but with the kind of cap space that the Spurs do have, you can afford to take on a bad contract if it benefits the team. And that goes back to the whole problem with that Chicago deal. I mean, the Vucevic contract is terrible. It's 22 mil, but it's the last year of that contract. So you get an expiring contract.
We do have a Woj bomb, as one of the viewers had just posted a little while ago. It's now being reported that Paolo Banchero is the favorite right now to get the number 1 pick overall by the Orlando Magic.
Not the favorite, but he is under serious
Yeah,
consideration.
serious consideration.
Which, by the way, Woj was also reporting, I think within the last hour, that the top 3 were basically locked in.
Yeah.
So something funky is happening. He's got together, man.
Yeah, when I did my mock drafts and released them, I still had Paolo going 1 to Orlando. I couldn't get the Jabari Smith to Orlando thing squared away. I still had Paolo going, which means if Paolo goes 1, is Oklahoma City going to stick with Chet at 2? Or do they go Jabari?
They have to.
They're also trying to move up even further in the draft, or after 2, but move up again in the draft with some of the other assets they have, from what I've heard.
Yeah, they are trying to move up.
What has been reported by others.
Somebody's asking, where's Paul Garcia? Paul Garcia is actually on his way to go ahead and be with the other media members because they are invited to go ahead and have an in-person session. So he's going to be joining us shortly here when we go live on the live show, which is going to be happening at 7 p.m. Central Standard Time. He'll jump in probably when we're covering the second round, I believe. He'll be able to maybe jump in and give us some updates on what's being said, and as far as the interviews and whatnot that he's pretty much doing at that point in time. So we'll give us some live updates. If it's not tonight, then we'll definitely have something for you guys tomorrow morning.
For sure. The Spurs draft party is being held tonight for the media. So if we can get Paul in around the Spurs picks, he'll come on in and give us some insight, probably what's going on. This is the pre-draft show presented by Project Spurs and DraftKings. Go to your DraftKings account right now. Use the promo code TVPN. Benjamin Bornstein, Evan Townsend, The Rock, Rocky Garza, Rudy Campos Jr. Joe is making everything go. I like how I did that rhyme. I'm not even a rapper. I'm just doing the lyrics.
Yes, man.
But we are going to be live again here at 7 o'clock for the actual NBA draft. We're going to be with you from picks 1 through 30. Who are the Spurs getting? They have 3 first-round picks. Other team that has 3 first-round picks is Oklahoma City. Ben did mention that they are trying to move up possibly to get back up into the early first round, possibly late lottery, maybe a little bit sooner. The other teams to watch, Sacramento is still being hounded for that 4th pick. So before we actually go on a small break and then come back for the actual NBA draft at 7 o'clock, I got a big question for all you guys here. Do we see trades from the Spurs tonight? Is there going to be a trade?
Yes.
Give me some ideas. Evan, go first. Give me some ideas on that.
We need a power forward on this team. Look at the roster. Database Diab does not count. Zach Collins is the center. We need a power forward on this team. Drafted, traded for, somebody that can get the ball in the bucket, goddammit. Kyle Kuzma, John Collins. Apparently, Onyeka Okongwu was the reason why the trade fell through with the Atlanta Hawks. That's just what I heard. Someone like that, please, an athletic forward that could play a little small ball 5. Maybe he has a hole in his game we can fix. Maybe that's why people don't want him. Somebody. PJ Washington, somebody, bro. Please, somebody.
I really feel Charlotte is that team to watch this tonight because they've got that, the 11th or the 13th and 15th pick. Pretty enticing for teams that want to get in there. And I think Charlotte could be one of those teams to watch tonight. The Knicks are desperate. They need to move up. If Benjamin Bornstein was in this draft, the Knicks would give away everything, including RJ Barrett.
That's right.
Get Ben at the top, probably first pick. Ben, trades tonight for the Spurs, man. Evan made it clear. You got to make a trade. You got to get that power forward. what do you see happening tonight? Are we guaranteed to see a Woj bomb tonight saying the Spurs have made a deal?
I think there's going to be a Spurs trade tonight. I have a sneaking suspicion that it's not going to be as sexy as we hope.
Mhm.
It's going to be something like they're going to move 20 and 25 and get Charlotte's teens pick.
Yeah.
And that's it. And maybe a future from them, from the Charlotte Hornets. But with that pick, they could, if they decide they want to take Jeremy Sohan at 9, they could then turn around and get Mark Williams with the Hornets pick, which I know like that's where he's been mocked, I think, a lot, if not the most, right to the Hornets.
Mhm.
Because then you're getting your 4, you're getting a 5 to back up Pirtle. There's opportunity there, but I don't think there's going to be. Evan is not convinced. Evan
No, I just saw another Dejounte troll tweet, and thanks, Rocky. Because I muted him. I cannot stand it. I cannot handle it. I'm sorry, Ben. This is you just gotta love the NBA.
That's the NBA now. It's
Dejounte
tweets,
Murray.
The world is ruled by tweets.
Sure. Sorry.
Everyone's
So trolling. Gotta go.
All right, guys, we're up against the clock here, so we got about maybe a minute left. So we're gonna go ahead and shut it down, and then get ready to do the live show at 7 o'clock.
So we'll be back at a little before 7 or at 7. We will be doing the actual NBA draft. We will be with you for the first 30 picks and only the first 30 picks because Rocky's got a bedtime tonight, so we've got to get him to bed before he gets in trouble. Evan Townsend, Benjamin Bornstein, Rocky Garza Jr., Rudy Campos Jr., Joe Garcia making it all go. This is the Project Spurs pre-draft show. Getting ready for the Project Spurs NBA live draft show, sponsored by Project Spurs and DraftKings. Gentlemen, it's time to turn the page and get ready for the NBA draft. Lots of fireworks to happen. Guys, stay tuned. Join us back here in just a little bit. We will be right back for the actual NBA draft.